When Raw premiered at the Cannes Film Festival in 2016, few expected the film to become one of the most notorious horror releases of the decade. Written and directed by Julia Ducournau, the French body horror tale sparked fainting, walkouts, and medical emergencies during early screenings. Yet nearly a decade later, it stands proudly with a 93% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. What began as a scandalous curiosity has since evolved into a defining work of feminist horror cinema, as thought-provoking as it is revolting. A blood-baptized coming-of-age story. At its core, Raw is a twisted coming-of-age story. The film follows Justine Garance-Marelier, a bright, vegetarian student beginning her first year at veterinary school. She's quiet, intelligent, and burdened by family expectations. Both her sister Alexia, Ella Rumps, and her parents are alumni of the same institution. But once classes begin, Justine's new life descends into chaos through a week of brutal hazing rituals that blur the line between cruelty and tradition. During one such initiation, she's forced to eat a raw rabbit kidney, an act that awakens a primal hunger she didn't know existed. Soon, her craving for flesh grows uncontrollable. From devouring raw chicken to tasting her sister's severed finger in one of cinema's most unforgettable moments, Justine's journey becomes an unflinching metaphor for self-discovery through taboo, sisterhood, and sin beneath the skin. Despite its shocking imagery, Raw isn't about cannibalism for shock value. Ducournau's film explores identity, female desire, and generational trauma through its grotesque lens. Justine's transformation mirrors her growing independence, a dark metaphor for womanhood devouring the innocence that came before. The relationship between Justine and Alexia forms the emotional spine of the movie. Their rivalry, affection, and shared hunger become a symbol of female competition and inherited violence. The revelation that their entire family carries the same monstrous appetite reframes Raw not as a simple horror film but as a story about inherited sin, one that festers beneath the surface of family expectations and societal norms. By the end, their connection collapses into tragedy. Alexia's shocking act of violence leaves her imprisoned, while Justine is left to confront the horrifying truth of her bloodline. It's a gut punch of an ending, not just because of the gore, but because it forces the audience to reflect on how much of our nature is chosen and how much is inevitable. From outrage to acclaim, a cult phenomenon is born. Raw's debut on the festival circuit became the stuff of legend. At the Toronto International Film Festival, paramedics were called after viewers fainted during screenings. Similar incidents occurred in Sweden and France, where some theaters reportedly provided barf bags. Ducournau herself expressed surprise at the intensity of the reactions, noting that her intent wasn't to disgust but to confront. Despite, or perhaps because of, the uproar, Raw quickly earned critical respect. Its blend of horror and empathy distinguished it from the torture-heavy horror wave of the 2000s. Critics praised Ducournau for crafting a story that, while disturbing, carried an unmistakable sense of humanity. Over time, the film's reputation only grew. It joined the ranks of Martyrs, High Tension, and Inside as a key entry in the French extremity movement, a genre defined by its brutal honesty and willingness to explore physical and emotional pain. Why Raw still bites nearly a decade later. Nearly 10 years on, Raw has aged into something rare, a film that transcends its initial controversy. Its artistry, feminist subtext, and visceral performances have cemented it as one of the defining body horror films of the 21st century. Ducournau's direction injects intimacy into terror, using flesh and blood not as spectacle, but as symbols of vulnerability. In Justine's hunger, audiences see a reflection of their own suppressed instincts, a grotesque yet strangely relatable hunger for freedom, identity, and acceptance. Even now, it's a difficult film to watch. It's nauseating, disturbing, and deeply human all at once. But that's precisely what makes Raw unforgettable. Julia Ducournau didn't just make a film that shocks, she made one that lingers, crawling beneath your skin long after the credits roll.